Do you find it difficult to focus on your customers and even your own employees as you're juggling numerous vendors? Do you have more meetings with vendors than you can count? And do their reports filled with technical jargon make you feel clueless and frustrated? Such is the story of Nathan. Being at a car dealership, he's concerned about his store's digital marketing presence and invests most of his time dealing with vendors to promote his business and gain more sales and market share. Nathan is busy handling reports and reviewing them, not knowing what is happening on the advertising front and about his true ROI. Poor Nathan is worried but can't figure out a solution until he found BZ Consultants Group. BZ Consultants stepped in and was able to take the digital marketing vendor burden off Nathan's plate, giving him peace of mind that the best interest of the dealer was always top of mind. Being an unbiased third party, BZ Consultants always made sure to relay the reports in easy, relatable, and actionable ways so that Nathan could best utilize the data. Now, Nathan can focus on what he really wanted, the customer experience and growth. By being your digital marketing business partner, BZ Consultants Group will remove the hassle of trying to hold your vendors accountable and increase your productivity with the time you will now have armed with true data. Together, we make it possible because your success is our goal.
Welcome into the Furniss Fast Lane, the Facts Not Feelings Furniss Fast Lane. And it is Friday. I can't even say the name of my own show. That is where we're at right now. It is a good time had by all. But luckily, I have got incredible human beings with me that are a hell of a lot smarter than I am. I'm going to be breaking down the show that just dropped yesterday. So first and foremost, let's actually get to some of these comments here. And then we'll introduce everyone because they're freaking awesome. And we'll get to that. But real quickly, Peter, yes, you 100% are the early bird. Between you and Jeff, it's one of the two that's always first. So thank you for all of your support and always being there. Super appreciate it, sir. And we've got Joshua. Joshua, fun little fact. Every time I say your name, everybody else on here is a big Friends fan. But every time I say your name, like Joshua, and all I can think is I hear is Rachel's voice in my head when I say Joshua. So there you go. Have fun with that one. And we've got good old Larry Feldman. Oh, hello, friend. Always good to see you. And Jeff, sure. Howdy to you. Jeff, thank you also for being on the DEP webinar yesterday. Really appreciate you. One, saving my bacon. I'm pulling up some of those links for me, so I super, super appreciate it. All right, with that, let's dive into who we have on this panel. We have one person that's here in spirit, and Zach Billings. He's at a wedding right now. Wedding might be a little bit more important than Facts Not Feelings in our Furniss Fast Lane, but never fear. We still have two great individuals. We've got Tom Kline, who's been on the show a few times, who's a better vantage point. We have Boyd Stough, who, Boyd, you do everything. Let's just call it like that. You do the head of partnership. You got a bunch of SaaS products. I mean, he's a lawyer. So we got a pretty good panel today to drop our knowledge on what the hell just happened yesterday with this episode. That was, now I know that I'm biased. This is one of the better episodes we've had, and it's on such needed topic. That's a really heated topic right now, and I just can't thank you both. And Zach, when you see this later on, I can't thank you all for being on it. So let's get this thing rocking and rolling. And we've actually. Joshua not upset. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. We'll just, you're friends now. And hey, Eric, good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. So let's break down some of the chaos that we unraveled yesterday with our data privacy episode. That was freaking amazing. Like, it really was. So I'm gonna, Boyd. Actually, one second. I got you muted here for 1 second. Boyd, let's start with you. What was one of your main takeaways from the show?
Wow. I would say, understand the difference between what people tell you should do and what you should do, what you need to do. This is a complex space. You need trusted people. And there's the takeaway. I think more than anything else is it doesn't matter what vendor you're working with what kind of product or service. I promise you, even though it may be hard to find them, there are good people out there whose interest is your interest, right? Who are looking out for your best interest because that's just how they do business. And if you can find those people, they're out there. But I tell you what, the pain of finding them certainly is worth it relative to having to suffer the fools of the world.
Yes, that was when the whole episode started. I asked you your first question. I was like, man, we can literally just stop the show right now. You unpacked so much in the very first question that was asked. I was like, holy hell, this is crazy. So that's also why we wanted a lawyer on the show, because that's, while Tom is the closest thing to a lawyer other than Boyd, I mean, you definitely need that. So, and for those that don't know, Boyd, at this point, you should know him because I've been blasting everywhere, but get to know this individual. He's incredibly smart. And one of the things I liked what you're saying there is in the show, you mentioned, hey, it may be something that you actually do need, and it sucks that you need it. I'm sorry you have to have this, but let's have that conversation that, yeah, it sucks you got to do X, Y, and Z versus, well, you really don't need this, but we're going to make you do it anyways. And so I loved how you broke that down to be like, hey, have a partner that's really going to do that. So I really, really appreciate you talking about that. And Tom, I'm sure that you have something to add to this. I'm going to go on a limb on that one.
Not far out on a limb. Thanks, Brooke. It's great to be back. And hello to all my friends who are watching and have commented. I think the most important takeaway is for any risk, whatever it is, in this case, privacy, consent, and the consent banners and the DSAR requests and all the things that we talked about. The most important thing to know is to consider what the risk is, and then consider what levels of risk there are, and then what you can do to mitigate it on each level. Maybe consider it, high, medium, or low, or whatever you want to do it. But for sure, there are ways to think about it. Dealers are entrepreneurial in nature. They live with risk. They understand risk. They know what risk is. And so telling them that there's only one way to do it is not necessarily the case. There's lots of ways to do to handle this issue, as of course all the others they have to deal with. So I'd say consider what the risk is, and then make the risk decision that's right for you based on the way that you conduct your business.
Amen to that. And Robbie, I just saw you come in here, buddy. Great to have you in here. Hope everyone is having an awesome Friday. Robbie, I hope you're having an awesome Friday, buddy. I hope you are. But it is like, that is one thing in particular for me as well, that when we were going through and talking about all this, was there are, the old saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat, which is a very odd phrase like that. Let's be honest, like I don't know how many people other than the serial killers are skinning cats, but we're going to go with it on a Friday. But there's so many different products out there, whether it's in this arena, whether it's advertising and marketing, whether it's website providers, whatever it is, there are so many options out there to understand, okay, which one works best with us, with our business, with our people, our process, and really narrow that down, because there are definitely a lot of options, regardless where you are in the automotive industry. There are a lot of options, to a point of like overwhelming amount of options. So understand that as well. If you're being backed in a corner and be like, hey, I don't feel okay about this, reach out to any of us. We're happy to help. But see if you can, like I said, as we preach so often on the show, is look for that partnership and make sure that they are willing to work with you and your competitors. That's a really, really big one, to work with your competitors. Because if they don't, then they're not actually serving you, the client. So
maybe consider, Brooke, maybe the facts, not the feelings or the emotions that are conveyed along with whatever the product is that they might be trying to sell you. Take a look at the facts, insist on the facts, then you can make a informed decision, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm curious, and I know we still have people rolling in right now. So those that are on the show right now, and if you're watching this later on, let me know, are you having issues right now? Are you, this seems to be a really heated topic right now. And I'm curious to our audience, hey, are you experiencing any type of issue with this right now? Brooke, we don't even know. We went with whoever was recommended to us. We don't really have an issue, or we don't know we have an issue, or, hey, I have an awesome partner. They're working with us and we've done such a great job, and we haven't lost a step. So as people keep rolling in, let me know that. I'm curious to see this. And Peter, yeah, whatever floats your boat, isn't it water? It is. I think that's going back to the skin the cat comment there. So let's go with that. The other one that I think we started with this one was like, there's so much talk about compliance. There's so much talk about privacy and data and everything in between, and how that can quickly escalate to something that's a little out of control, and understand that the privacy is important. And we broke that down as well to say, hey, it's not a bad thing. Like, you should have privacy. Like I personally, for those that haven't watched the show already, one, go watch it later. Number two, I use browsers that don't track me because I like my privacy. So if I see those little banners pop up, I'm like, I don't want to be tracked, and then try to distinguish what functional and essential cookies are and all that. But I personally don't want to be tracked. So Brian, let's go down to you on that one. Like, I know that you spoke quite a bit about this and very eloquently about how it's a good thing to have privacy.
Yes, privacy is a good thing, right? I think that's common sense, is that everybody respects that it's a good thing. Where it gets weird is where it starts messing with your business. And this, unfortunately, the whole consumer data privacy stuff, it's a strange kind of bolt on to this, very well sorted out, otherwise sorted out kind of marketing world, right? And the right way to look at these things is it's meant to be complicated. It's meant to seem complicated. It's meant to feel complicated. It's meant to feel overwhelming, so that you don't think too hard about it. And this may sound strange, but so that you actually kind of disqualify yourself from having to do anything, right? And because at the end of the day, there's a lot of people. There's literally the states. There's lawyers. There's a bunch of other third parties that are out to make money on this, and they're really counting on you not taking right action, okay? Or they're counting on it being so complicated, right, that they can overwhelm you emotionally and have you do basically whatever they tell you to do, right? I'm a lawyer, and I'm gonna throw lawyers under the bus. Lawyers are famous for that, right? It's all very complicated. Just trust me. Just do the thing.
Don't worry yourself. You're fine.
Yeah. Oh, this will probably take me, 20 hours. It's going to take him 3. You know what I mean? And he's going to charge you for 20 hours. So, unfortunately, that's who wrote these laws were a bunch of lawyers, but in consultation with a lot of these tech companies. And they really did. This is so important to understand, that they really did try to achieve some kind of balance, right? Where they're protecting not only the privacy interests of individuals and consumers, but they're actually protecting the business interests. If you have a good partner, and this is key, it doesn't matter what Tom's is a great partner in virtually every respect with all things compliance. Why is it important to have a partner like Tom? Because Tom understands the nuances, and Tom is looking out for your best interest, and Tom is not going to square peg round hole things, right? He doesn't have an out-of-the-box solution to solve all of your problems, right? He's going to get to understand your business. He's going to make the right fit. But that's what you need. You need somebody who understands why these laws were written the way that they were, how to leverage them best for your business. You may be in the automotive industry, but my guess is you run your business at least a little bit different than anybody else does, and you need somebody who's going to take the time to understand that and figure out what the right fit is.
And I'm going to let you comment on this one, or anyone can here, but Jeff is going, the impact of privacy concerns is like smoke. It permeates everything.
That's a great comment, Jeff, because it's built to permeate everything. It's built. The only word that I could come up with is it's insidious, right? It has a way of kind of working its way into everything and complicating all these other things. And so the wrong way to approach it is, what's the least that I can do, right, to get away with for right now, right? Check-ins and boxes. Understand there's a path, right, that all of these laws are carrying us on. That there's already this kind of termination point in the future with respect to these laws and all the technology and everything. Zach made a comment on the video on the show about how the third-party cookies are going away, right? Well, if you know that, don't fight don't tooth and nail to hang on. Start thinking strategically about how you can put your business in the best possible position, right, in the future. And you need good people to help you navigate those waters.
Yeah, and it was funny as we were talking about that on the show about cookies. I mean, I had made the comment that it was 2019, and I'm working with quite a few businesses, and because Google announced, we're getting rid of cookies, and I foolishly actually believed that they were going to actually do that, and they didn't. They will at some point, but as we were talking about it, I'd asked the question of, okay, so what are you doing when cookies go away? And it was like deer in the headlight looks of like, what are you talking about? Like, you haven't started thinking about this? It got into, now we're in 2024, so we'll see if 2025 is going to happen or not. And there's a lot of moving parts. The reason why Google has not blocked all cookies at this point. I mean, most of the browsers have, but really looking at that and saying, okay, how are we taking those steps, because they're gone. And Boyd, like you said, stop fighting it. And as Zach said, stop fighting it. Please stop fighting it. All right, Tom, let's go down to you. What's another one of your takeaways, buddy?
Yeah, unintended consequences. In my practice, I'm always looking at what what are the results of a decision that you can't anticipate? And in this particular case, if you take a very conservative approach to privacy consent, then there's a potentiality that your GA4 data just, we call it go away. It goes away. It substantially goes away. I'll let you characterize it, Brooke, because that's your area more than mine. But it could very much harm your the results and your ROI of the tens of thousands of dollars that dealers are spending every month on marketing. So consider, when you're considering privacy consent, think about whether that's going to affect your GA4 data, and if so, is that something that you can live with, or is that going to be a problem for you? Is it going to result in poor ROI? I think that unintended consequences is always what I try to focus on when we're talking about a risk issue, and we go down this path, make a decision that this is where we're going to go. What's going to happen, 3 or 4 steps later, and let's make sure that we think through the best way that we can what those results are going to be.
And I'll go off of that a little bit, just because that happens to be an area where I do quite a bit of work, and it is crazy for those that are experiencing their analytics being blocked. And I will caveat, and Boyd, I'll come to you on this one after I get done here, was I did not know that that was not actually, you do not legally have to do that. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't pretend to be a lawyer. I just have really smart people on the show that know what the hell they're talking about. And that was that moment of like, oh, you don't have to block this? I just thought it was part of the law. You don't have to block it. So what does that mean? Why does it impact dealers? Why should you care as a dealer? And why should you be watching this and watching the show that dropped yesterday? Is because what I'm seeing across the board, those clients of mine and colleagues of mine that are having this happen to them, the least amount of traffic that's being blocked is 50%. Now, that is significant. It's averaging about 70 to 80, 90%, around that range. So we'll just say it's 80 for an average share of 80%. That means all that money, and Zach did such a phenomenal job breaking this down of, okay, I'm spending $50,000 on advertising. If 80% of my traffic's being blocked, you don't know what the hell is going on. You don't know where the money's being spent. You don't know if it's being spent correctly. You don't have the ROI on it. And that is, I cannot stress how vital it is to have this. So if you are in the group where, hey, we're seeing our traffic drop, what's going on, and you think it's something internally, it's probably not. I mean, I just this past week, I think it was this week's kind of a blur to me. I was talking to a colleague, and their entire company had all of their clients, their traffic dropped. And I explaining to them like, hey, this might be the reason for it. Like, oh my gosh, that's 100% the reason. So people start, your hair should be on fire at this point, because to not have data, we're going back to just throwing darts at a dartboard and like, oh, I hope it works. I don't know if it's going to be. How can you hold anybody accountable? You can't, and you shouldn't honestly be okay with your traffic missing, like it's gone. So really looking at, if you're unaware, like, hey, I really don't get the Google Analytics a lot, find someone, talk to us. We're happy to go through it and just kind of say, hey, I'm seeing a massive drop. And I know I'm rambling on this, but it is such a key point. When I know this is, if I were to ask Zach, what's your number one takeaway, he's going to say this, I guarantee it. So I'm talking for Zach right now as well, but this is such a big issue. And Boyd, I was coming to you for something that was, I think it was over that not being, it's not, you don't have to legally block the script because anonymous data. And the other one, I can't remember what it is, but I'm sure it's going to come to me. So I'm going to go over to you on that one.
Sure. Yeah. So none of the U.S. laws require that you default people to opt out. So in Europe, they have the GDPR. Okay, and the GDPR was in a lot of ways the model upon which that was used to build a lot of these U.S. laws. But in the European Union, the GDPR, it defaults people to opt out. You have to opt in order for the cookies and all these kinds of things to run. Okay, in the United States, on the other hand, there is no exception to what I'm about to tell you. All of the laws default to opt in. Somebody has to affirmatively opt out. That is the action they have to take. And that's very black and white. That's what the laws say. Now, a lot of the narrative around why you should do it is frankly, it's not justified. It's not legally justified. and it's certainly not commercially justified. So it's strange in the least to me why any company would take a position other than that which the law requires.
So Brandon coming in here. Brandon, I see you just need to only provide an option to opt out, completely agree.
That's what the law says.
So the law says. Yeah. And you also made a comment, and this was something that we were talking about, jurisdictionally responsible. I hope I got that term right.
Oh, yes. So if I'm very so close, it's jurisdictionally responsive. So number one, you need a cookie banner, okay? Or you need a platform that's going to allow you to tailor the cookie banner to your purposes, okay? The cookie banner needs to say, at the very least, a certain something, okay? Law outlines what it needs to say. You can say more. You can color it differently, right? You should have control over the language, okay? That's number one. Number two is you should have control over the options you provide people. The different laws require that you provide different options. So ideally what you want is a solution that is always presenting to the visitor based on where they are, based on their IP, is always presenting to them the banner with the proper language, right, and the proper options. Okay, that's what you need. So you need something that's globally compliant and jurisdictionally responsive. And if you have that, it's really just, as Tom likes to say, one and done. You got it set up, it's in place, and now you don't have to think about it. And this goes back to, then I don't remember who said it, but it's like smoke, it gets in everything, right? Mm-hmm. This stuff is changing constantly. It is anything but static. Jeff, there we go. It is anything but static. It's always going to be changing. So you realize, so people like Tom are great because Tom's always looking at the laws and he's updating you. You don't have to do that. He's the one keeping you informed and up to date and up to speed and compliant. You need the same thing with what's called a consent management platform.
Amen. And that was something we talked about, because like whether California has really strict laws, I'm in Illinois, Wisconsin DOT laws are insanely strict. So if I'm an Illinois dealer and I have someone from California versus Wisconsin versus Illinois, they should be served something differently because the laws are different. And I believe it's 17 states. Is that correct?
There's 17 states. So it can be the case that if somebody's coming in from a jurisdiction that doesn't have any laws in place, why would you be presenting them with a banner, right? Now you may choose to because you want to be slightly more conservative than the law requires. You want to provide them with an option, and there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. But that's entirely up to you, as Tom likes to say. What's your level of risk tolerance?
Yes. And that's something that I think that too often, not think, that I have seen over and over again, that sometimes you don't know the questions to ask. And so it's like, oh, I didn't even know that was an option. Like I have practiced jurisdictionally. I can't even say. I've practiced. I taught, like I texted. I was like, what's the word again? I'm like, I can't say it. I can't spell it. So just tell me what it is. Like to know that, hey, this is what I need to ask. Hey, do you have this capability? And working with that partner to say, hey, does it work? Does it not work? If I live in wherever, and if you're in California, obviously you've got really, really strict laws there. So understand if someone comes from Idaho laws are going to be way different than California laws. Like, yes, everyone from California is flocking to Idaho, but that's a different story. But it makes a huge, huge difference. Well,
and I just want to add something else though, too, is keep this in mind on the horizon. At some point, there will be federal legislation passed, okay? And right now, it's been redrafted yet again. It's called ADPPA, okay? And this is a bit of legal, here, take it to law school for a second. When the federal government has the ability to write a law that will supersede all state legislation. In the case of, let's use consumer data privacy laws as an example. You have all these different jurisdictions, and you have the issues with respect to enforcement and staying compliant. It's very, very complicated. It becomes completely untenable. So at some point, you're going to have a federal framework, right? At some point, I'm not saying it's going to be this year, next year, but at some point there will be. And then when you think about the horizon, that's where you need to be aiming towards. You need to be thinking, okay, right now, what's not the least I need to do, right? That's not the right way to think about it, but what do I need to do in order to comply with the law in a way that's consistent with my risk tolerance, right? In my business, the way I do business. But at the same time, you don't need to just stop thinking there. You need to have a relationship with somebody who's going to educate you about the kind of the migration of these laws, the way things are going, right? And where you need to be in 3 and 4 years from now, right? So that things aren't a surprise and you're not on the on the losing end of things.
And that was something I want to go back to something you said earlier, is that I didn't know. And there's a lot of things I was like, man, I didn't know this, I know that. And you'd mentioned on the privacy banner that can be customized, that can be personalized. I was like, whoa, I didn't know that. I thought you see so many of them and they're all very similar. So I was like, oh wait, you can customize this? That's pretty cool. I had no idea.
I love this. Think outside of the box. Where did banners come from? What is the purpose of a banner originally? Right? It was to present somebody with an opportunity to do something, to take certain kind of action, or to communicate something. This is a banner. Yes, it needs to say certain things, and yes, it needs to provide people with certain options. But that doesn't mean that you can't modify the banner, change the banner, add things to the banner, right, that are going to communicate something different, that are part of a consistent customer experience. If at the very beginning, one of the clients I work with, right, their catchphrase is the power of permission. And if what you're doing is you're saying, hey, listen, we respect you as a customer, and we respect you and we respect your privacy. We want to give you the very best experience possible. And part of that experience is cookies, right? And you can use that banner as kind of the first touch point in a series of touch points, right, that do nothing but engender a greater degree of confidence and credibility.
I want to go just quickly, as we're talking about compliance, that's what the whole show is about. If you missed the DEP webinar yesterday, I broke down with Eliana from Dealer Process about the CARS rule. That's another one that's like massive. So if you haven't had a chance, go check it out. You can just go to Dealer Process and search their webinars. You're going to see it's the last one we did. And then on addition to that is we've got DMSC around the corner here. So for those that are going, we're going to be broadcasting live from the show, the Dealer Funnel booth. Be doing that thing. It's on the Tuesday, and once again, it's Monday and Tuesday. It's the second and third day in between the workshops. So if you're interested, a lot of times we do sign-ups with this. We're just going to do, hey, come on over, come talk to us, and we'll get you on the show. So back to Tom, I'm going to come back down to you now. So we've talked about a lot here, and I want to make sure that people are still on here. Make sure if you're still watching, throw an emoji in here, throw a smiley face, hey, what are you doing for Memorial Day weekend? Maybe Memorial Day weekend, maybe why we're getting so few comments today. I just make sure we're still broadcasting live and you all are hearing this and having it sink in. Maybe you're just like so overwhelmed by like, oh my God, I can't handle this more. Maybe that's what's going on, but if not, throw something in the comments here so I know that you all are out there. So Tom, with that, what was one of your other takeaways?
I think on this issue, it's particularly important to consider if you are a dealer near a state border. So especially New England, where there's a lot of states within a small area. This is a really important piece of technology. Thanks, Larry and Jeff. This is an important piece of technology because people are constantly, going over the border, if you will, to buy a vehicle, and being jurisdictionally responsive. If you're in Massachusetts and you're buying a car in Connecticut, or vice versa, Rhode Island is right there, and New York is right there, all within a 2-hour drive. People, drive across the borders to buy these cars. I think it's important to consider, even if your state isn't one of the 17, and I can't name the 17 off the top of my head. Maybe Boyd can, and I'm not testing Boyd on that because Boyd knows it. Boyd knows this stuff. But even if your state isn't one that requires these tools, consider whether you live near a state that does require it.
Yeah, and that's a big one. You mentioned like West Virginia and. Almost said East Virginia. Yeah, that's where we're at right now. I'm making up states right now, ladies and gentlemen. I just made up a state.
I must live in East Virginia, Brooke. So.
Like, the words are coming out of my mouth. I go, did I just really say the words just came out? Like, what the hell did I say?
It makes good sense. West Virginia, East Virginia.
I promise I have an IQ higher than tomato, ladies and gentlemen. I really am a smart person.
After all, there's South Dakota and North Dakota, so there could be
East Dakota at this point. We'll just make it up their territory still. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
We go with the flow here on Facts Not Feelings.
Oh my God. I don't even know where I was going with that, but yes, just whatever you said, yes. And in case someone's wondering, East Virginia is not a state, in case nobody's wondering. Boy, can you confirm East Virginia is not a state?
Not yet.
No, it's
Can be
just
done. Though. It can be
not
done.
yet.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. There was someone I was going to bring up here.
I just want to throw in there too, capitalizing on what Tom said. If I'm a business person, and I am, right? I really just want to focus on making money. That's what I want to focus on. I don't want to have to focus on all this other stuff. Sadly, it's stuff that does need focus. It does need attention. That's why it's so important to find the right people to work with you and know that they have your best interest at heart and that they're always looking out for you. At the end of the day, if you're not around, they're not going to be around. That should be their mentality. Okay? This is very complicated space. It's no fun. Nobody really wants to have to think about it. There are ways to approach it such that it is, in effect, again, stealing Tom's favorite phrase, one and done, right? And the one and done is not even about the platform. It's about the relationship. Find the right people, work with the right people, trust the right people, and then, you know what? Get back to the business of making some money.
Yeah, it's Brandon, I saw your comment. I meant to throw it up there and I totally forgot. I missed it there. So I'm throwing it up right now, buddy. And I just thank you so much. I know it is a crazy, not only is it Friday, we're going into holiday weekend here. And does anybody else when you say holiday weekend automatically think Christmas, or is that just me in East Virginia over here? But so I hope you're having a good Memorial Day weekend. So thanks for being with us. I super appreciate it. And who else did I miss up here? Brian. Yes, Brian, I'll meet you there, buddy. I'll meet you at East Virginia, wherever that ends up being. Hell, it might be on the West Coast for all now because I'm just making up states. So who knows? Anything else? We've covered a lot of ground here. I know, like I said, we're going into Memorial Weekend. So people, got a few things going on here. Anything that we missed we need to cover here?
I think under the banner of facts, not feelings, Brooke, consider whenever you're buying a product, whatever it is, or renting it, or it's a SaaS solution, or somebody you're looking to hire, consider the language that they use in order to talk about what you're discussing. I think it's important to try to use neutral language when you're talking about the facts, and not be swayed by the emotion of the salesperson or the product or whatever it might be. It's like when a client asks me a question, I try to respond by first giving the facts and saying, here's what I see. And then afterwards, I try to give my opinion, but I'm not always successful, but I try to do it in that order so that they're getting the information first, and then they're getting the opinion. And I think if you're considering whatever the product is, like I said, to be careful of those emotionally charged words, because if you're listening to those instead of the facts, I think you could potentially make a bad decision about what you're buying.
I want to just say on that, I've been in business for a while, worked with a lot of different kinds of businesses. I can tell you that if a business isn't either A, actively trying to make you more money and demonstrating to you using facts how they're going to do that, or actively interested in how best to save you the most amount of money, right? They're not looking out for your interest. That they're looking for a dollar. That's what they're looking for, right? I've moved a lot of companies away from fear selling. And the weird thing is if a company's fear selling, they themselves are fearful, which is interesting. Right? So you're not looking for just a SaaS solution. You're looking for a relationship with a company that sells a great SaaS solution that's either going to make or save you a lot of money, right? And if they don't check those boxes, move on.
Amen. And this is, this obviously we're talking about privacy and compliance and SaaS products and all of that. This really goes to anything. I mean, I've had more conversations I can count with clients or potential clients that have just said, when we get reports, they're so daunting that we tune out off the first page. It's a 100-page deck. They're like, no one's going to read that. And they go, it's almost like they're trying to prove their own existence and to hide stuff. I go, well, let me take a look at it. And more times than not, that's usually the case. They're trying to hide something. I'm not saying that I'll do this. It's just when you're using technical jargon so much to cover up your own insecurities, or hey, the product's insecurities or the service insecurities. Oh, we were a great company, And then we got acquired. And like most people, like most companies, not all, but a lot of companies that get acquired, the service tanks. And so maybe you're making up for that, whatever it might be. Just really do your due diligence to ask those questions. If you don't know, we have such an incredible community in our industry to be like, hey, let me tap so-and-so on this. Hey, I got a legal question. I'm going to go ask these two really smart people and see what else I'm missing. Because it does happen. But if you are continually making it so complicated for somebody, I would look internally like, why am I doing that? Like, why am I making it so difficult for them to understand? Or the same thing on our websites. Why do we make it so difficult to buy a car? Like, all I want to do is buy a car. 17 call to action buttons on our site. You don't need it. So just really take a look at it. So thank you for bringing that up.
I wanted to just say though, too, education selling became a thing for a reason, right? And what's funny about it is it wasn't even so much about actually educating the person. You weren't withholding their opportunity to purchase the thing based on their level of education. That wasn't it. What they found is that by being transparent, by being open, by investing in educating that person first and giving them the opportunity to understand, that engendered a greater degree of trust in you as the person selling whatever that thing is, right? And trust in the thing you're selling. That's why education selling works. And if anybody's not coming to you, always first of all, trying to understand you and educate you, if that's not the leading edge of the engagement, that's a red flag. It doesn't matter what you're buying.
Amen. And I want to throw up Brandon's comment up here again. I would add support is huge. Customer service, in my opinion, is one of the most important factors. Brandon, I don't know if there's amen is a strong enough word. I actually didn't catch because I think I'm like screaming amen and I meant it that way. Because it's so big. Because you may not have the answer, or it might be an answer that the client might not like, but at least you're communicating with them like, hey, I don't know, but I'm going to get back to you. Hey, this, going back to earlier, this sucks, but it's necessary. And the customer service portion it'll take care of a lot of other shortcomings when you have good customer service.
Can I tell you really quick, just to throw this in there, it just came to mind. I'm from a little town called Cornelia, Georgia. There's nothing there. Okay. But there's I'm sure this guy will never probably see this. Kane Ford in Cornelia, Georgia. My dad would, he would regale me of all these different business things and he would, teach me lessons, etc. But how many times, I can't tell you how many times he said, the Kane Ford, they don't really advertise. They don't do this, they don't do, but you know what they do? They treat everybody well. He does like I do. He's got a list of all of his clients and he calls them and he sends them Christmas cards and And I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't care what, I'm gonna buy a car from Kane Ford as long as I live. And that's how that guy does such good business. And I'm thinking that, of course, that's the case. Like, how much of your business should be referral driven? Yes, technology is amazing. It allows you to do awesome things, but what it ought to do is bring more people into an opportunity to have a relationship with you. And certainly privacy is a part of that, right? Hey, you can trust us because we do care about you. Here's an opportunity to demonstrate that. But with respect to everything else, 1,000%, man. Somebody told me the other day, they were like, building relationships and taking care of people is the slow way to go, but it's the right way to go. It always leads to success. 100%.
I could not agree more. I mean, even like when you're growing a company, and Tom, I'm sure you can attest to this, is that you don't yes, you want to be successful, whatever success looks like, you want to get to that point. For me personally, it's like, I never wanted to grow too quickly because it's like, I never want my clients to suffer because we grew too quickly. And you definitely see companies that like skyrocket. It's great from an ROI standpoint, but then the customer service goes down. You're like, man, it used to be, you guys used to be so good.
It used to be great.
Yeah. Jeff is saying, for many, telling them to fix their privacy exposure is akin to discussing cancer. If you don't have it, don't jinx us by bringing that up. And and Jeff, you were on the show yesterday. I mean, this is, and Tom, thank you for helping with that as well. It's like every couple weeks, there's some new data breach, there's some new cyber blah, blah, some new compliance that some dealership is getting raked over the coals over. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it's going to happen. And Tom, I'll use your phrase here. If the Pentagon can get hacked, pretty damn sure that the automotive industry is going to be hacked. And you see it all. I mean, I feel like every month a new OEM has been like some massive data breach. So it's going to happen. It's just, have you put all of your ducks in a row to protect yourself as much as possible?
That's what I call, don't get a case of the yets. It hasn't happened to us yet. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, for sure. Because the car dealers are a treasure trove of social security numbers and think about all the steps they provide us, and sometimes it's tax returns and all that stuff. I mean, it's a hacker's delight.
Yes.
To be, maybe Weird Al should do a spiff on Hacker's Delight, right?
I like it. Maybe I don't know if you know him, but maybe reach out to him on that one. I'm sure he'd love to do it.
I'll look for him on Facebook.
I'm sure he's there. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we have covered a lot. I'm looking over here in like 41 minutes. We've covered a hell of a lot of information. Is there anything else we're missing? Do we want to just go straight into our holiday weekend? What are we thinking here, gentlemen?
I just want to say, don't get scared. Don't be scared. Don't be more stressed out than you already are, because you're probably already pretty stressed out. Maybe the one big takeaway from all of this is start thinking about all your relationships with all your vendors, and are they in the business you are? Are they there to help you make money? If they're not there to help you make money, what are they doing?
Making money for themselves.
Well, but that's what you want to get up every single day and go do. You want to be excited. You want to go in there. You want to have relationships with customers. You want to strategize with your team and come up with great new ways of marketing and selling. That's what you love to do. All this stuff takes away from that. And it's so unnecessary. Don't let people play you.
Yeah, know your rights, and just there's so many moving parts on all this, and it can be really, really daunting. And the whole goal of obviously the podcast that dropped yesterday and this live show is to kind of just peel it back a little bit and say, hey, while it seems really scary, and it's not that it's not scary, to live in fear is not the way to do it. So there are options, there are ways to go. Here are some questions to ask, and kind of debunking some of we joked about how the internet's such a great place for information. It's also an incredibly great place for misinformation. So understanding what you actually have to have, what it's going to do, what's the ripple effect if you choose X, Y, Z versus ABC. They both have a ripple effect. So which one is going to work best for you, your business, your people, your customers, 7 generations of customers? Like, there's so many different things, and now the future customers. So really looking at that, and my hope more than anything else is that this resonates with people in the sense like, oh, I didn't know that, and they can take that and educate others and to help the cause here, because it's a big issue for sure. Big issue.
Absolutely.
All right, gentlemen, I think we're going to wrap this up. Everyone, I know we're going to Memorial Weekend, so I hope everyone has a wonderful Memorial Weekend and that your month ends well. If you're going to be at DMSC, definitely let me know. I'd love to see you all there. We've got also Zach and I and it's like 4 other people are going to be on a panel together. It's on the keynote. It's on Monday. I think it's the second day at 10:15, and then obviously we'll be at the dealer funnel booth doing the live show. So everyone, you all know the drill at this point. Find a way to serve today. Find a way to just better someone's life today. Be the joy in someone's life. With that, everyone, we will see. Actually, no, we will not see you next week. We're going to be at the show, so we're off for like 3 weeks and then we'll be back. But we'll see you live at the DMSC conference. With that, everyone, we'll see everyone at the DMSC conference. All right, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.